Quem aí lembra do cantor Kid Rock?
It was 1989, my thoughts were short, my hair was long. Caught somewhere between a boy and man.
Pois é, além de roqueiro polêmico, ele é super amigo do Donald Trump. Os dois são tão próximos que Kid Rock já chamou o presidente de um dos seus besties. É verdade. Essa amizade inusitada começou em 2017 graças a uma amiga em comum, ninguém menos que Sarah Palin. Lembra dela? A ex-governadora do Alasca foi candidata a vice-presidente na chapa do republicano John McCain lá em 2008. Pois é, ela que fez o match. Desde então, Trump e Kid Rock viraram parceiros de golfe e de papos sobre política. Mas segura essa, o Kid Rock foi o podcast do Bill Maher. Se você não conhece, o Bill Maher é um comediante americano, apresentador do programa Real Time Bill Maher da HBO desde 2003. Ele é famoso por ser liberal, pelo seu humor ácido, opiniões que dividem e por não ter papas na língua. E mais importante, ele vive metendo pau no Trump. E o Trump, é claro, devolve na mesma moeda. E é aí que Kid Rock teve uma ideia meio maluca ou genial, vai saber. Ele sugeriu que Trump e Bill Maher se encontrassem cara a cara. Aqui nesse vídeo, Kid Rock explica o porquê dessa ideia.
I went on Bill's show, I went on his podcast, and I said, man, you know, nothing happens if people don't break bread together and meet face to face. He's been one of the president's hardest critics, and we came to dinner, me, Bill, Dana White, and it could not have been better. Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, you know, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You know, you've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill? And I was like, how about this? President Trump, you know, extending this olive branch, and we talked about things we had in common, you know, ending wokeness, you know, securing the border. You know, the president was asking him what he thought about policy, you know, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just meant, it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, you know, very, very proud.
Bob, do you think he walked away liking him? Because, you know, Trump is the type of person that you got to meet him to understand it.
100%. Me and Dana both said there's never been that's ever met the president in any scenario that's walked away without saying like, wow, what a great guy. He's so funny, so engaging. He's so smart. And absolutely, Bill even said to me, you know, after that, he goes, wow, that was, you know, everybody's mind was kind of blown. Even the president's, I think, because the president called me late night last night, and, you know, everyone was a little suspect about going into this. And even the president kind of allured to me a little bit like, what do you got me doing?
Right.
And I go, man, we're just trying to show people that, you know, even though we've been pretty hard on each other, that when you get face to face, maybe we could have a little more civility in this country and try to bring people together. And that was my whole intention.
You know, that was so important because so many people now are in their own little silos and they don't even talk to the people across the street because they voted for somebody else. You showed that two of the biggest, most vocal people on both sides of the aisle can break bread, have a good time, and ultimately, I'm sure you took a bunch of pictures.
We did. Well, we kind of checked our phones. You know, the president put his phone on a table, and he said everybody, you know, and the guys kind of took ours, and the White House took some pictures, which I'm sure they'll put out at some point, because I can't wait to have one of those. I was clowning around the White House all day, taking pictures in the bowling alley and this, and running around in my flashy, as your son called it, Peter, in my get shot out of a cannon suit. That was funny.
Evil Knievel. Right.
So you did this. You set this up. Do you sense that anything will change with Bill Maher's show from here? Because I think he's been very fair, to be honest, out of all those shows. What do you think?
That's my hope. And God bless Bill, too, he even said going into this, he goes, because I go, Bill, I know, you know, some of this Hollywood stuff, it would be great for you to get thrown out, and it'd probably be good for you to double down and be like, you know, I can't stand this guy. And he goes, Bob, I'm not going to I'm not going to sabotage something that potentially could bring us and other people together, just to show that, that family member that you kind of divided with over politics, or that person at the school when you drop your kids off that is a left-wing person, and you're like, that maybe we'll just, hey, we can find things we have in common. And it gets so easy to go on social media. And one thing we learned through COVID was that isolation breeds hatred. We need to get out and talk to one another.
And you did it, and you made a difference. Thanks so much.
Well done.
Na introdução ao episódio de Real Time with Bill Maher no dia 11 de abril, Bill fez um relato muito aguardado sobre como foi o jantar com o presidente Donald Trump na Casa Branca.
12 days ago I had dinner with President Trump, a dinner that was set up by my friend Kid Rock, because we share a belief that there's got to be something better than hurling insults from 3,000 miles away. And let me first say that to all the people who treated this like it was some kind of summit meeting, you're ridiculous. Like I was going to sign a treaty or something. I have no power. I'm a fucking comedian, and he's the most powerful leader in the world. I'm not the leader of anything, except maybe a contingent of centrist-minded people who think there's got to be a better way of running this country than hating each other every minute. Okay, so meet up in person. Maybe it'll be different. Spoiler alert, it was. First good sign, before I left for the Capitol, I had my staff collect and print out this list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog, his show is dead. There's 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did. Which he did with good humor. And I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Oh my God, Bill, are you going to say something nice about him? What I'm going to do is report exactly what happened. You decide what you think about it. And if that's not enough pure Trump hate for you, I don't give a fuck. My friend said to me, what are you going to wear to the White House? I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to dress like Zelensky, I'll tell you that. Just for starters, he laughs. I'd never seen him laugh in public, but he does, including at himself. And it's not fake. Believe me, as a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it. Okay, example. In the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, you know the best thing about him? His hair. I said, well, there was also that whole bringing down communism thing, waiting for the button next to the Diet Coke button to get pushed and I go through the trap door. But no, he laughed, he got it. I said to him at one point, Mr. President, you know the dog, that's unusual in the White House. He said, well, a lot of the presidents, they had a dog for political reasons. I said, no, people love dogs, that's what that is. Oh yeah, okay, that's true. At one point, we were walking through his amazing tour of the whole house. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election, because I know he used the word lost. And I distinctly remember saying, wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that. He didn't get mad. He's much more self-aware than he lets on in public. Look, I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage. I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists, because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing, people whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know. Your mind is blown. So's mine. There were so many moments when I hit him with a joke or contradicted something, and no problem. At dinner, he was asking me about the nuclear situation in Iran in a very genuine, hey, I think you're a smart guy, I want your opinion sort of way. And I said, well, obviously you're privy to things about it I'm not, but for what it's worth, I thought the Obama deal was worth letting play out because we made Iran destroy 98% of the uranium, and they were 15 years away from a bomb. And then I said to him, but we got rid of that. You got rid of that. He didn't get mad or call me a left-wing lunatic. He took it in. I told him I thought parts of his plan for Gaza were wacky, but that I had supported him in the idea that Gaza could be Dubai instead of hell. I told him he was wrong when he tweeted the night before that I was critical of all things Trump. Not true. Check the tapes. Moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, loved it. The border did need to be controlled. I'm glad the cops are getting their morale back. DEI had gone too far. Biological men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take in Arab refugees, like the million Syrians who wound up in Germany when Saudi Arabia took none. He said to me, you're right, they took none. I said, well, you should remind your boyfriend in Saudi Arabia that the next time you see him. He laughed. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days. He was even okay when I checked him on the orangutan lawsuit. He was. I know. He said to Dana White, you know, Bill said my father was an orangutan, and I really love my father. And I said, well, Mr. President, I did that because I didn't like what you were doing regarding Obama's birth origins. I thought that was low. Again, no anger, just a little smile as if to say, yeah, I get it. The most surreal part of the whole night was when I got home. I flew back right after the dinner, and I'm in bed watching 60 Minutes from the night before. And there's Trump in one of their stories, standing at a podium in a room that looked to me like one of the rooms and places we'd just been in. And he's ranting, disgusting, you're a terrible person. And I'm like, who's that guy? What happened to Glinda the Good Witch? A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is fucked up. It's just not as fucked up as I thought it was. And I have no illusions now that I'm back to work at my job that he might start a new list. So MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing. Just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen and accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room. We were. And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else, and we can hold ours? Okay, that's my report. You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high.
E aí, o que você achou desse encontro inesperado? Será que vem mais jantares por aí? Veremos! E se curtiu o vídeo, já sabe, curte, compartilha, comenta e se inscreve no canal para não perder as próximas novidades dos States. Como sempre, sem enrolação. Até a próxima!